Tuning into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the week of September 12th to September 18th, 2015.
How did this happen? Where did it go? It should have been there last week's episode. I thought I was set up with my season pass. Now the new show is out, and I don't know what happened last week. How did my TiVo forget?
Welcome to the show. I'm Kevin Batchelder.
I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And I'm Brent Barrett.
All right, we've got a new poll running, folks. Going to let you know about this one. Looking forward hearing from you on this. We're asking you, where do you watch most of your television programming? And giving you options like the traditional living room or family room, bedroom, den, many other choices. I think we got 8 or 9 of them in there. So just started having a few votes coming in, and no surprise so far that the living room or family room is far in the lead.
See, I'd be curious which one, like what the proportion is too, because I bet a lot of people are still more than half the time TV, but I'm curious how many people are, on their computer or their phone for a lot of the time versus very little.
I'm surprised there are no votes for a lot of them. I mean, we have apparently no listeners who are also gearheads because they don't watch their shows in the garage, and nobody seems to want to watch in the bathroom. Come on. At least they don't want to admit it.
It is still early, though. I suspect many of those will fill in with votes very soon.
Yeah, interesting. It's kind of cold in the garage, though, in the wintertime.
Well, if you're
maybe
working.
in the summer, yeah.
You're doing work, you warm up.
All righty. Yep. Looking forward to some votes there, folks. So please stop by the website and give us some thoughts.
Is in the car one of the choices?
Ooh, I didn't have that, but I do have on the road, so maybe you can pick that.
Yeah, kind of roll in that direction. All righty. And we do have a new contest running, as we told you we would have some soon, now that we're getting into the point of the year. Several shows are getting some releases of different types. And this particular contest, 3 of us are big fans of the TNT show, The Last Ship. So we want to see you folks get a chance to either experience it for the first time or maybe to purchase and have a option to watch. So you can go with Season 1, which is available in many formats, including instant video and DVD and Blu-ray naturally, or Season 2, which at this point is just instant video, but you can pick. Winner gets their choice there.
Yeah, this is definitely worth it. I actually have both seasons on instant video, and this show is really good when you rewatch it, mainline it in chunks. It definitely retains the continuity really well.
Yeah, the show does a great job, and we've talked about it many times, of being kind of almost a movie, just a very long movie with little segments. And definitely when you rewatch it, it's really great. I have Season 1 on DVD. Definitely going to be ordering Season 2. So this is a great get if you can win this one.
So as usual with our contest, folks, listen for the code phrase later in the show at some point, and follow the link to our blog post for more details on how to enter. Alrighty, let's get ready. We're going to move over now to our spoiler-free water cooler.
In every generation, there is a podcast where one alone has watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer before. The 3 others must stand against the spoilers, the synopses, and the forces of DVD commentary tracks. This is Potential Cast.
This is Stephanie.
This is Kim.
I'm Gabby.
I'm Illyrio.
I see sort of myself in Cordelia.
I really like that line for some reason.
The show does that a lot, and I really like it.
I love Child's explanation about Buffy is a Slayer. Don't tell anyone. That's all the information you need.
We do have a lot of feedback.
Whether you're brand new to Buffy or you're a seasoned rewatcher, come find us at potentialcast.com.
All right, kicking off the water cooler, we got a pretty short list of quick reviews. We're just getting ready in a week or so to really start exploding this list, but right now, not a ton. But this is where we're going to rate the shows with the watch it now, watch it soon, maybe let it sit on the DVR, or you can skip it. Kicking off on Sunday, the 13th of September, we have Fear the Walking Dead. First season, episode number 3, The Dog. Not one I'm currently watching, though.
I'm not going to rate it because I dropped it.
I thought it was mildly entertaining. Watch it soon.
All right, moving next to Lost Girl. This is Canadian air schedule here, as we repeat, not coming to SciFi until 2016. But we had Season 5, Episode number 10, Like Father, Like Daughter. Loved it. Watch it now.
I haven't seen this yet.
I'd go high and watch it soon.
And also on Sunday, we have The Strain, Season 2, Episode number 10, The Assassin. Not one that's on my viewing calendar, though.
I'm not watching this.
Well, this was a powerful episode. I'd say watch it now.
Nice.
Excellent. All right, jumping to Tuesday, the 15th. From Dusk Till Dawn, Season 2, Episode number 4, The Best Little Horror House in Texas. Another strong one. I'd say it's a high watch it soon.
I'm not watching this.
I'm not watching this one yet.
All right, now moving to Friday, the 18th, we have Continuum, going with U.S. schedule here, folks. So the 4th and final season, episode number 2, Rush Hour. I'd give it a high watch it soon.
I would also give it a high watch it soon.
Wow, you people are nuts. This is so much better than the first one. I'd give it a watch it now.
Well, it was definitely better than the first one. Maybe go low watch it now.
Being influenced, okay. I'm sure we'll be talking about it a little later. All right, and in our watch-rewatch category for streaming, we went, as you folks know, been with us certainly through the summer with the Almighty Johnsons this summer, and we're finishing up here. Season 3, episode number 13, The End of the World as We Know It, which is the series finale. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'd give it a low watch it now.
I agree. Low watch it now.
I think I gave it a watch it now or a high end watch it now when I rated, but that was a pretty good ending, huh?
And looking forward to talking about it.
Contest clip time. In this clip, tell us how many rounds the Nathan James has left.
TAO, what's left in the holster?
Just the rounds in the 5-inch, sir.
How many?
4.
All right, moving into some of our articles, and we got some feedback. We have a voicemail this week from Scott on Cape Cod talking about the Under the Dome finale.
So now that Under the Dome is wrapped up, I figured I'd let you know my final thoughts. As a serious drama, this show was a dumpster fire, but it was gold as a comedy. As you know, early on in Season 2, I changed how I looked at this show, and I'm very glad I did. Every week, we looked forward to watching the show and then reading the reviews and listening to Wayne's and Mark's podcast, all of which were hilarious and better than the actual show, but it really made it fun. The series finale was obviously designed as a season finale with plenty of cliffhangers, but what else would you expect from a silly show like this, I guess? So all in all, I'm sorry to see it go. It gave us lots of laughs while it was here, and I'd love to see a Mystery Science Theater take on this at some point. Kevin, this was as B-movie as you can get.
Well, thank you, Scott. Always look forward to hearing your thoughts about it. And yes, I do know some of those folks you mentioned who do Under the Dome podcast and other folks who've been mentioning on social media. So I am glad that it did go so far off the rails that many of you were able to take the chuckle side of it. I still remember watching the first couple of episodes and thinking, gee, this could be a really, serious drama. So those were the days. So appreciate the feedback on it, though.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that Scott was able to enjoy it as a B movie all the way till the end. I did try to watch the second season, and it was awful. So I can see why people would find it humorous to watch, though. And a Mystery Science Theater treatment in the future might be a lot of fun.
I'm glad you had fun with it, Scott. As I kind of pointed out, I think when I stopped watching it, if they had stuck to their plan to make it really an event, a one miniseries kind of event, and stuck to the plot line that Stephen King had put into the original source material, would have been a great show. But they decided to renew it, and that's what happens when you renew these limited run events. It turns into mush.
Yeah, that went way off the rails from Stephen King's storyline.
I would have been really curious if it was somewhere on the DVD sets, and maybe those of you who maybe saw the one for season 1, if the writers were just sitting there being serious in terms of what they were doing, or was this put some crazy ideas on the board and throw darts to see what we're going to write about,
Well, if the writers were serious, the folks who edited and directed the show were not. They were like, let's turn this into a B movie because, I don't know, there's a lot of good actors in this story, and even they were turned horrible. So they were literally in a bubble while making that show, maybe.
Could be. All right. Well, with that one going off the air, we do have some couple of news items coming up for some stuff being developed. The first one we're going to let Wendy talk about is a movie, Time After Time, that many of us remember.
Yeah, and they're actually going to turn it into a TV show. CBS is working with Kevin Williamson of The Vampire Diaries and The Following to develop Time After Time. They're starting from the book from the late 70s, which is a take on H.G. Wells' Time Machine, in which Jack the Ripper uses the time machine to jump to San Francisco in 1979. And then Wells is after him, trying to find him and stop him. And to me, this sounded really interesting because it seems to have a lot of the same ingredients that they had in the following, in terms of, two characters in opposition and sort of a Prison Break type setup, which worked really well in season 1 of the following. So I'm going to be very curious to see how this actually turns out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie when it came out. There's also, if I'm not mistaken, kind of a love story sort of aspect to it as well. But yeah, you know what they really should do? This sounds kind of cool. They should really do a story where they take, Ichabod Crane and have him into the future, and then have the Headless Horseman appear, and the two of them battle it out. Oh, wait a minute. They already did that.
Yeah, but you may think that some of that, hey, if that could work, then maybe this one could too. Must be talked here between the book and the movie adaptation. And I've not read the book, but I do recall the movie, and I do recall enjoying it. So I think they're, got some premise there. It's, as always, when you take these things that look like they make sense for a couple hours and want to turn them into ongoing series, whether or not you got enough creativity there to make it work. So interesting. I guess we'll see.
I think they do. I mean, CBS definitely goes in the crime wheelhouse, and if you think about this could really be Jack the Ripper is sort of doing ongoing murders that they're investigating as well, his body trail along the way.
Yeah, that's great, but this is ABC, so what do they do?
No, this is CBS. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it is ABC. You're right. Oh, then it's going to be a mess. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Wait a minute. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is on ABC. Knock it off.
Yeah, no, but I think Marvel has a lot of control over what's going on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. over ABC. They screwed up forever, and that was a bit of a timey-wimey show.
Maybe this will be titled Disney's Time After Time.
Well, stay tuned, I guess. We'll have to wait to see.
Okay, now I'm not nearly as excited about what they might do to this show.
Well, our next news item, as Wendy was saying, is CBS developing something. And again, another item that many of us are familiar with. Brent's going to talk a little bit about the Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah, the Island of Dr. Moreau. I didn't read the book, the source material. I did see the movie. It was kind of a classic, sort of horror-y, sort of B-movie kind of film. I remember watching it with my father on like a Saturday evening or something on the TV. But CBS is developing a drama series based on this. And as usual, and by the way, it's going to be written by the Sleepy Hollow co-creator, Philip Iskove. But as they're usually doing these days, when they, bring something, they adapt it, they bring it back, whatever they're doing to it, they have to change everything up. So it's not the story of a crazy mad scientist on an island and a sailor who's, shipwrecked and discovers all the crazy creatures. And, they're not taking that aspect to it. It's a woman who's probably young and beautiful, I imagine. Well, it is CBS, so maybe she's older. But they're related to CW, so I'm thinking young and beautiful. But she is the scientist who's doing experimentation on a privately funded island hospital, I guess. And that's about all they're saying about it. So there's probably going to be some, crossover, half animal, half human sort of experimentation or something going on, or else they wouldn't have called it the Isle of Dr. Moreau or the Island of Dr. Moreau. So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, there's no real date yet on it. They are developing it, which also doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to ever see the light of day, but at least they are starting to work on it.
Yeah, and as you said from the notes there, they're taking the name that many of us nod and know and then spinning different pieces of it. So at what point do we start to go, okay, this really isn't that anymore? I guess to the point of where they make it creative enough to give themselves some good foundations for stories. I mean, this is a classic story, and the concept has been done and redone, sometimes very well, sometimes not so much. But so I guess if they find a way to make it work, but like you said, it's CBS, which tends to do more procedural things rather than, high fantasy. So I guess we'll have to wait to see.
Yeah, this will be interesting to see how they go in terms of why the bad things that happen on the island are happening, if they're going to tie it directly to the doctor and the doctor's work, or if they're going to tie it to something else. And It has possibilities, but I think I'm going to wait until I see a trailer.
Yep, like we said, these are still just items in development, so as Brent said, these might not even make the light of day. All right, our next item, though, definitely something we know confirmed, with Haven coming back, as we've talked many times. Just a programming note for you folks, when it does come back on Thursday, October 8th, SciFi is choosing to give us 2 episodes that very first night, as they've started to do with a few series. So even though, for example, their time slot is 10 p.m., we're going to get one at 10 and at 11 that night. Doesn't say it's really a 2-parter, just back-to-back episodes, so I wonder if they're trying to accelerate things a bit since we have 13 episodes in this final run. I am curious how well Haven's going to do, in the fall against lots and lots of new shows, which is not somewhere where it's been recently. So holding hope, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay optimistic. I'm excited actually that they're going to do a double episode. Hopefully we'll get off to a really strong start.
I'm still looking forward to the return of Haven. I really like those characters, and I like the quirky town and everything that goes on there. So I am interested in the final resolution. We've learned a lot in the first half of the final season, but you know what I mean, the previous season. We found out a lot of the mystery and what was going on, but there's still some more to discover. So I'm actually kind of curious. So I'm really looking forward to its return.
Yep, high hopes there. Alrighty, now Wendy's going to tell us a little more about another show coming back that same week, iZombie. Yeah,
we've got an interview with Rob Thomas, the showrunner, talking about what's coming for season 2. I'm not going to talk about that too much. It gets very specific about the main characters, what's going on with Liv, Major, Blaine, Ravi. I'll just say that Ravi's still searching for the cure. The other thing that was interesting, though, was talking about some possible character development. And because Rob Thomas did Veronica Mars, it's inevitable that people ask questions about parallels to that show, whether they're going to cast actors from that show. I was very interested to read that he definitely wants to get Enrico Colantoni, who played Veronica's father, somehow into the show. And I was really surprised to see that he was trying to get Jason Dohring, who played Logan Echolls in Veronica Mars, onto the show. And just when they were trying to work it out, he got cast on the originals. So I'm hoping he gets killed on the originals, because I would love to see him on iZombie working with Rob Thomas again.
So can I hope that, who was it that got cast? Was it Claudia Black?
Yeah, Claudia Black.
Can I hope she gets killed too, so she can appear on the show that I actually watch?
She'd be great on iZombie too, right?
Yeah,
she
cool.
can come in with an international connection, the European zombie contingent.
Yeah, I haven't. She's played a vampire, so let's have her play a zombie. I haven't seen much Veronica Mars, just little bits here and there, so I'm not really tied to any of the actors who played on that. But I think it's pretty cool for the fans of him and of the show to see some of those familiar faces appear. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, same thing here. Even without being having someone who's seen Veronica Mars, I know how much the fans are willing for that. And also, there's some talk, as Wendy said here, about Liv and Blaine, your key characters, some of the big things that happened at the end of last season and what that means going forward. So going to have some interesting bits, I think, right out of the gate with iZombie, so I'm very much looking forward to it. Alrighty, next up, it's going to be Brent talking about the few casting items that we have this week.
Casting roundup call, folks. We've got a few shows to talk about, so we're going to talk about The Walking Dead, Twin Peaks, and Doctor Who. Now, there will be at least one very spoilery thing we're going to talk about in here, so if you're sensitive to Doctor Who spoilers, you might want to skip forward a few minutes at least. Keep skimming and listening, because if you hear us talking about something in Doctor Who, keep skipping. But anyway, first a couple that aren't that important. No, they're important. I'm just kidding. The Walking Dead has cast Xander Berkeley, who appeared on 24, for what they're calling a potentially long-term stint on The Walking Dead. He's going to be playing a character. Oh, by the way, if you don't recognize him, you will if you click on this. He's recently been on Nikita, Being Human in Salem. I recognize him on those shows. But this character is going to be called Negan. No, wait a minute, sorry. He shares some characteristics with Negan. He's not Negan, apparently, from the comics. That's the news here. They've denied that he is the Negan character. But he is going to be somebody who has some similar characteristics. There's a bit of a description here if you want to read for that. Also, Twin Peaks has cast Amanda, I'm going to probably screw up her name, Seyfried. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She's very famous now in movies, young, beautiful actress. She's going to be having a major role on the Twin Peaks revival. I guess they're calling it a revival, but it's just a continuation, right? 15, 20 years later, whatever it is, 20 years later or whatever it is from the time of the original series. So she's going to be appearing there. The big news, the spoilery news, and it's your last warning for Doctor Who spoiler news. If you don't want to hear it, you want to be surprised, skip forward. Jenna Louise Coleman has confirmed that she is leaving the show, that she has already filmed her, what she's calling an emotional exit to the show. And, of course, speculation is rampant on the internets right now about who the new companion will be.
Yeah, as you said, The Walking Dead, going to kind of wait and see what happens there. Twin Peaks, that's also still a bit away. So it's the Doctor Who stuff that certainly got the eyebrow raised. I mean, we've heard things about this for a while, as tends to happen with companions and doctors, speculation. But to see it confirmed, that's interesting. So I'm kind of wondering where that's going to happen in the season and how that'll be. I've certainly enjoyed her role, but I'm also very much looking forward to see what the new actress or actor might be and how that'll change the dynamic.
Yeah, the Twin Peaks news, I immediately thought of a character from the original show when I saw her, and so I'm very curious who she'll be. But that is kind of far away for me to think about it too much. The Walking Dead, I was encouraged because I like that actor a lot. He'll probably play a really good bad guy. Since I'm not familiar with the comics, I'm not looking around every casting notice to find Negan. But I guess he must be a really important character because people are highly anticipating that one. The Doctor Who stuff, I'm not surprised at all. I mean, I think Clara's arc is really done. I really was not all that thrilled with the writing of her character last season. So I hope they give her a meaty and substantive exit. I would really like it if they, bring back somebody who's like a young kid or a teenager, maybe a couple of them, maybe an alien. I really want them to kind of mix it up with the companions for the next time around. I think it's because Peter Capaldi is such a good actor, and he, great. He's great with kids. He can really spark with a lot of different people. So I'd really like to see them kind of mix it up.
I kind of want somebody out of time too. And you know what? Before the little prequel that aired the day before we were recording this on Friday, we had heard this news of Jenna Coleman leaving, and I was thinking, that guy that was next to the Doctor in that little 10-minute or 5-minute or whatever prequel thing that aired on BBC America. I want him to be the companion. He's really funny. They have a lot of back and forth, and he just make a great companion, totally out of time. Take him to the present day or to the future. I want that as well, because they've had that before. In the old Doctor Who, they've taken people out of time. They've taken aliens along, and to some degree, you can almost call Captain Jack sort of alien, although he is human, but he's from the distant future. But that kind of stuff would be really cool. And having multiple companions who are regularly, I know they had Amy and Rory for a while, but not very long. They had them for like a season together. They haven't done a lot of that. And the classic Who, at one point, there was one Doctor, if I'm not mistaken, had like 5 companions going on adventures with them at one point. So that could get a little crazy. But let's have at least 2 or 3. That would be kind of cool. And let's don't make them all from 2015 and a young, attractive female.
Yeah, I wouldn't even mind if they brought like Vastra, is that her name? Vastra, and her buddy, and Trax, what was his name? I can't remember his name. But those 3, they made a really good gang that the prior Doctor had. So even if they kind of did a little Scooby Gang again, I would really like that. I really like the idea of somebody either way from the future or way from the past too.
Yeah, very much with you folks in that whatever we do, let's mix it up. Let's make this a really bold move. I think that would be very cool to do rather than, like you said, cookie cutter of what we've expected. All right, moving on. I've got a link for an article for you folks about the upcoming sci-fi show, Wynonna Earp. We've told you a little bit about this one coming. And the link is to, I wouldn't say so much an interview, but it's some questions with the showrunner, Emily Andrus. Many of you might be familiar with her work for writing and producing on both Lost Girl and the first season of Killjoys. She's a very smart woman, very funny. I've heard her in many interviews and even on some podcasts, and she really has a great way. So I'm really excited for this show. Looking forward to it. She talks a little bit in here about the lead character. For those of you, we've mentioned before that this is based on a comic. If you do some searches on the comic, you'll find as occasionally, well, more than occasionally, often in comics, when you have a lead female character, in the comics, she's very buxom, not with a lot of clothes and not making a lot of sense in how they might present her there. So she is just saying very much in here that, yes, we do have a woman cast as a lead, and she is very beautiful. And she may be sexy, but she'll be doing it with pants on, and she won't be doing, bikinis in the snow and things like that. So it will really be dealing with some important story items here. But this is a 13-episode series. Just started filming, which is some notes in here. And also, according to this article, they say it'll begin airing in April on SciFi. This is the first time I've seen any mention of when it might be starting, so that's good. Not waiting as long as summer, so that might be a lot of fun having it in the spring. So if you want a little more general info, I would not say it's spoilery, but she does talk about how the character is going to be approaching things, some of the secondary characters as well. So it's a lot of good info.
Yeah, there was a lot of good information in this, and this hasn't really been a show that was on my radar at all. I thought it was interesting that the showrunner described it as Buffy meets Justified, and the Buffy part I get. I'd be very curious if they could live up to the Justified side of that equation, though.
No bikinis in the snow? I'm out. I'm just kidding. It actually sounds like a pretty cool show. I like their comparison. The like I said, Buffy Justified thing. But I guess what we're getting at here is that since it's a real woman, it's just not super powered, but it's still a vampire hunter or a demon hunter. So I think it's kind of cool. But it's almost like you have to wonder if the comparisons are going to be there. Is this really just a solo female version of Supernatural then?
It might draw some parallels there, Brent. That's not a bad concept to look at it from. I mean, I'm excited, very honestly, because of Emily Andress. Like I said, when I look back at some Lost Girl episodes that she's written, when she executive produced, and a couple that she wrote this season on Killjoys, those are some of the really good episodes in those series. So with her as a showrunner, I've got very high hopes that this really could work well.
Well, plus they also have, they mentioned this sort of ghost of Doc Holliday or something. So if it's their version of, not Wyatt Earp, Winona Earp, and Ghost Doc Holliday, that could be a lot of fun and a lot of shooting.
Yeah, we'll have to wait to see. But again, hopefully that is that April timeline, so it won't be quite as long. All right, something definitely coming up even sooner than that. A show Wendy greatly enjoyed. She's going to talk to a little bit about Gotham.
Yeah, there's been a lot of ads for Gotham Season 2, The Rise of the Villains, and this clip that you'll find in the show notes is actually a whole scene, and folks who've watched Season 1 will not be surprised to see where Barbara Gordon is. I was a little surprised at what she's doing, and she's probably one of the most polarizing characters in the show. So I'm glad to see where they're setting her up going into Season 2. And I'm also just thrilled to see that Morena Baccarin is going to have quite a bit of a role in Season 2 based on what they've set up in this little clip, too.
That's pretty cool, and yay for Morena Baccarin.
Yeah, really nice. Really nice. Again, my friends that are also Gotham fans, very excited about this one, the specific clip, too. So interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, because they're not taking this character where people think of with Barbara Gordon, at least the way I ever thought she was going to be when we started Season 1.
Excellent. Alrighty, our last news item, Brent's going to tell us a little bit about The Flash.
Well, I'm going to show you a little bit about The Flash. This is a link to a bunch of photos from the set of the new season of The Flash. I don't think there's anything really spoilery in here, but there's some pretty cool little photos. It's what you expect. I mean, we get these links all the time, folks, when new seasons are about to air, or we get a series of photos from the sets, and it's kind of cool to see everybody back in action, but they don't usually tell you too much about what's going to happen.
Yeah, I did peruse some of them there again, and I'm, definitely interested, more excited for Flash coming back. I know the lovely ladies, the actresses who play Caitlin and Iris were at DragonCon. They were very popular, and I heard they were great on the panel. So this was cool stuff. Looking forward to it. It's same week there as we mentioned a little earlier with Haven, and Arrow and iZombie. Lots happened in that first week of October.
Yeah, this is nice. The CW releases all these sort of set episode photos, which, this looked like a lot from the first episode. So, they don't tell you anything, but it's nice to see the characters back. It's sometimes if you want to see, especially like costumes, you can really see what's going on with his costume this season. It looks a little bit different. And also some of the characters that are going to be in the first episode.
Excellent stuff. All righty. Well, finishing out Water Cooler as we always do. This time we have a Tuner Minute. This is one that I recorded, and it's titled Nothing But the Good Stuff. I was recently chatting online with a friend who's also a fan of the same show that I am. Won't give you any spoilers here. But it was a fan vid that I had shared. And in the show, one of the key characters had died. So in the actual video, there were several scenes that led up to that particular moment. So it, had some what you might call depressing points in there. And while this other fan said it was well done video, it was one he would never plan to watch again because when he reminisces or remembers or revisits a show, he doesn't want to go through that pain again. So it got me thinking, if you're rewatching a show, I know sometimes folks will skip seasons or story arcs they might not like, but do you avoid the parts that might really be depressing or downers based on simply the fact of the storyline, not so much that you don't enjoy it?
Well, that's interesting that this was in the context of a fan video. There's definitely episodes, and the one that's probably the most fresh in my mind is from Game of Thrones. There's some stuff, we're still not too spoilery, but there's something that happens to a character in season 5, and I pretty much watch the episode all the way up until the start of that scene, and then I know what's coming, and I stop watching it. I move ahead to the next one, because I don't need to see it again. So if that's what you're getting at, yeah, I've definitely done that, because it's more, oftentimes it will be more about violence, or it's not necessarily to avoid being sad about stuff, because sometimes I actually like watching episodes where a beloved character passes away, because you get to kind of revisit with all the characters that were affected by that other character's passing together. So yeah, I definitely I do avoid some of the painful stuff. If it did its job the first time, it's already stuck in my head. I don't need to see it again.
Good job at trying to cover that up, Kevin, but I think if anybody's been listening to this podcast or knows you were probably talking about Buffy. So we'll just move on from there. I've heard other people say this. I mean, there's episodes of Farscape that people have said they can't watch. They won't watch the episode in season 3 where a character dies, or one of the lead characters dies. They can't watch, a couple of them in season 3 where the lead character dies. They can't watch those. And I honestly have to say that while I completely respect their positions, I've never understood them. I understand not watching an episode because it's crap. And I'll sometimes do that if I'm doing a rewatch of, say, Farscape, since we're talking about that. I might skip past John Quixote, or not John Quixote. I'm sorry. The one from season 1.
Jeremiah Johnson.
Johnson.
That's just Trek.
That one. I might skip that one. But I don't, stop watching an episode when a bad scene's going to come up, or I don't avoid an episode because I know something bad happens. To me, that's all part of the emotional journey, good and bad. And I want to experience it again. If I'm going to watch it again, I want to experience it again. I'll only avoid because of quality. I won't skip or avoid because of emotional attachment or emotional reaction.
Yeah, and that's what I found interesting, and you both kind of just brought up in the way you look at things. And for me, Buffy is a great example, but it actually isn't the example from this one. Just for some clarification, but that is one
liar.
Now, have to share off mic what it was. But no, and it's just as you both described. Sometimes it is just too imprinted for some folks. It draws too many parallels maybe to their own life, especially if it's a character death or a really just depressing part of what might happen in a storyline. I mean, for me, no. I mean, when I do my Buffy rewatches, and I've done several, I do not skip a couple of episodes, one very obvious one for those who've seen it, even though some people do. And this other show that this person brought up, I'm okay. It's very impactful. I'm not saying it's easy, but to me, when I look and have that enjoyment of a show, I enjoy it more by knowing where the low points are and having gone through them. So, for me, it still might be painful, but I do want to go through all the ups and downs. So we'd be very curious to hear from you folks. Do you kind of go on one side or the other like we've kind of touched on, or is there some intermediate area where maybe only certain bad parts of painful parts you might skip? Let us know on some of the feedback. Always a lot of fun when we get a chance to hear from you folks. Alrighty then, that finishes up here, Water Cooler. Let's get ready. We're going to move over to the back porch and discuss several shows in lots of detail.
Today we talk about Continuum, The Almighty Johnsons, Lost Girl, Heroes Reborn, and Person of Interest.
All right, kicking off our back porch this week, we're going to let Brent start our discussion about Continuum, episode number 2 of the final season, Rush Hour.
I don't know what my co-hosts were thinking. This episode was far better than the second one. They admit that. I know. But anyway, it actually starts getting a little better, especially because we get a scene with Kira and Brad. And they actually sneak away somewhere together, and we see that there's a little bit of distrust at the beginning, but then they embrace. I don't see them kiss, which I really wish they would do. But they seem to trust each other again and realize that they both have missions to accomplish on their own. So they do that. But it starts out with Kellogg getting this message from his future self, which he thinks is really, really cool and weird. But we find out also from the soldiers, the Marines, whatever you want to call them, who've come from the future, that the old Kellogg, the one from the future, did not tell the young Kellogg why they're there. And they have been given orders not to tell him, but that they are supposed to be doing something. They have a mission, to set things right. Don't really know what that's going to be, but that's going to be, I guess, part of the mystery that gets resolved in these last few episodes. But anyway, back in the business of Pyron, the nasty business of Pyron, Kellogg has, in the last episode, of course, his goons managed to take Emily. We didn't know who it was, but now we know it's Kellogg's goons, who've taken Emily, and they're basically extorting Alec to give back the data that he stole from the company, from Pyron. He basically wiped their servers, and he does manage to get the data back into a device, but he puts some kind of a hidden encryption in it, or some sort of a key where he can just blow it up and destroy all the data again. And Kellogg discovers that, and he threatens to harm Emily, but Emily and Alec goes in pretending that he's the other Alec, seems to fool the guard, but then the guard obviously knows he shouldn't be there and realizes what he is, and turns the tables. But Emily has already broken free of her bonds, and they have this big fight, and Emily and Alec manage to escape. So they get Emily back, and they get the data in a position where they can still sabotage Pyron and Kellogg, which is kind of cool. Now, of course, during this whole process, Kira comes over and Kellogg wants to talk to her and to negotiate or whatever he's going to do. And he manages to convince her, or makes her, take her suit off and put on this dress, of course, which is just his way of controlling her, which is not very pleasant. But in the process of this, he's apparently attacked and almost killed as well. Looks like I think it might be a Liberate attack. I'm not sure. I think so, since they were there. And Kira manages to get him out and has to actually drown him to save him, because he's got the gas in his lungs. They have to fill his lungs with water to save his life. And it's interesting. Dylan is back, and Dylan's got this mutilated face now and a bum leg, and he actually trusts Kira when Kira's drowning his boss, because now Dylan works as head of security at Pyron, and I found that very interesting. But he actually trusts Kira enough to not stop her when she's drowning Kellogg. He also doesn't really like Kellogg, but I think that's something else entirely. But it manages to save Kellogg's life, and of course Kellogg, the only thing he can think of is that he got Kira to kiss him by giving him mouth to mouth, which again, Kellogg is just, he's this short of a rapist. I just don't like him at all, and I don't think his future self likes him very much either. But there's some great stuff at the end. I love the dinner where everybody's together, but Emily, I love the scene where Emily, is in the bath and recovering from her ordeal, and she's talking to Jason, and she asks Jason a question that's got to have been burning on her mind since she found out that Jason is Alec's son, which is, am I your mother? And Jason gives one of his kind of cryptic non-answers where he seems to imply that she's not, but he also is a very, I don't know how to describe it. You've seen him in the show. He doesn't seem to answer things very directly. So he may be saying things like, no, you're not the same woman. You're living a different path, but she might still be his mother. But he's indicating that you're not the same woman, that actually gave birth to me or something. But anyway, she took it, I think, the wrong way, or the way that we're led to believe is supposed to be the answer from Jason, and ends up leaving and telling Alex she has to go and stepping away. It's too dangerous. She's there and that sort of thing. So it ends with that kind of sadness. And it also ends with Curtis coming and visiting Kellogg and indicating that at some point in the future, Kellogg is going to get the opportunity to send Kira back to the future, and he has to do so. So I'm still scratching my head about this whole what happened to Kira between the end of last season and this season, where now all of a sudden she wants to go back. I still don't know what's going on there, and I really hope they come to an answer. But it was good to see Kira and Brad together. It was good to see Dylan back. The Emily scenes with Jason were actually kind of moving, so I kind of liked that interaction between them. So I love this episode.
And I greatly enjoyed it, and I agree with you that I definitely liked it more than the first episode of this season. And what I think I'm going to find is that when I go back and rewatch this season, I will probably like it more. But again, I was still maybe looking for just a little bit more out of it. I don't know, just a little bit more than what we got. Not that what we got was bad, but I don't know, maybe I'm just expecting a little more epic stuff with the Time Marines or whatever the hell they are. And it's just, with only 6 episodes, concerning me. But it is good stuff. As you just described, there were several very good scenes and some, as we've said many times, just outstanding actors here that do a great job with it. The Emily stuff, very powerful. And the same way, I can see from her point of view, she's doing the math, as they say. She realizes that she is the Achilles heel a lot of the, quote, bad guys, whichever factions they are, will try to use to get to Alec. And if she isn't Jason's mother, then her being around isn't all that important. So she's going to get herself out of there. So I totally buy it from a story point of view. But as you said, Jason didn't say, no, you're not my mother. He did a typical Jason nod your head one way, shake it the other, and walk out of the room. So I was a little concerned that maybe she shouldn't have taken that to be so definitive. I also very much liked what Carlos did when they had that whole dinner event, if you will, between Kellogg and Kira, and he was there trying to monitor things, and he saw that Garza was working with Travis, and that they were going to do something really bad, and he literally T-boned their car and almost got himself killed, and Dylan had to literally save him by shooting a gun out of Travis's hand. So I like that, that Carlos really stepped up and, in the moment only saw one option, hit the gas pedal and try to take them out before they took out Kira or Kellogg. Kellogg is just so smarmy and has been since the beginning. I remember talking to Rachel Nichols on one of those sci-fi media calls about Kira's relationship with him, with Kellogg, and how there were so many different ways to go with that. And this was way back in like season 1 or 2. So that's just so interesting to watch the two of them, quote, do my air quotes, dance around things, and how he tries to always manipulate the situation. So it is some very good stuff. And I do agree with you. I think I will probably like it more and be mad at myself for maybe not giving it the watch it now on a rewatch. But I'm still waiting to get my socks blown off by one of these eps here in season 4.
Yeah, I think the reason I didn't rate it, solid high watch it now was because they're still not answering enough questions about what people are doing. I did really like having Brad and Kira have their meet up, but it only felt like they sort of got to 90% of their trust getting reestablished. I don't know. But it was nice to see they still care about each other. But it's not entirely clear to me that they're on the same page. I think that, there might be a point in which there's going to be another test coming for those guys. I don't understand why the future Kellogg wasn't a lot clearer to the present one about what he needs to fix. I would think, if anything, we've learned that, being vague from the future doesn't lead to the outcome that the people in the future expected. So that's the part that's kind of leaving me scratching my head. I was also scratching my head about what Travis and Garza, why they were trying to kill Kellogg now versus any other time. I agree about the Emily stuff. She was a total badass when she was escaping from her chair, and then that whole fight to get away when Alec comes to also try to rescue her. That was really well done. I really did like the conversation she had with Jason. I wish she would have, put that little grain of salt, though, because, he might have been, who knows why he was signaling whatever he was. It might be important for her to leave, because who knows, she might already be pregnant with him. So maybe, for him to actually exist, she needs to leave, possibly. But based on what she can do in terms of her fighting skills, I think she can hold her own. I don't know that Alex is any safer without her than with her. The other thing I liked was actually just seeing the gang at Alex's house. I like that set that they're in, that house. And I also liked when Lucas was helping Kira with the CMR and stuff, and he had never done it before, and he was kind of, struggling to keep up to help her, but I really liked seeing his part in that.
Yeah, I thought of the possibility that she was already pregnant with Jason too, but then I thought the math doesn't really work out, because 2077, he'd have to be in his 60s. He looks like he's maybe in his 40s, so I don't know, but I guess it's possible. Who knows? Maybe you just age slower in the future.
Oh, did he come from 2077?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Too?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, he doesn't look like, I wouldn't even think he's 40. So, yeah, you're right. Unless, as you point out, Kevin, maybe Emily time travels.
Yeah, can't put it out of the realm of possibility.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I did like was seeing Dylan, although, wow, changed man completely. Liked seeing that he still kind of has Kira's back. And I really like how Carlos has stepped up as the chief, or whatever his title is now that he's in charge.
Yeah, that was good to see him literally, since he's usually the one totally by the book, to literally almost go off it to protect her at that point.
The thing I thought was interesting was, you have Kira saying she needs to go to the future, but then you have Curtis telling Kellogg the same thing. So there's got to be, some more cards to play there that we haven't seen.
Yep, and only 4 episodes for it to happen.
I know.
Yep.
That's, I guess, probably why I didn't rank it higher, is like I really want to feel like we're building. And I'm still a little confused.
Well, looking forward to what we get from here, though. Alrighty, moving on to our next show to discuss. Talking about getting near an end. We actually are at that for The Almighty Johnsons. So Wendy is going to talk about the series finale.
Well, the end does come. And in fact, I'm going to forget the name of it. Ragnarok, the big event to bring the gods back to Valhalla, I guess, or wherever they went, finally happens. But it was totally different than sort of what everyone had been thinking would go. Excuse me, what everyone thought might happen, because all along I'd been thinking when the gods got their powers, then the humans in their god bodies would go too, but that's not what happened. The humans stayed, and the gods left. So that was kind of good for Axel and his roommate. It was definitely good for Ty and Dawn. I loved how they made home movies so that when Dawn did not remember Ty the second time around, she would immediately have some proof about why she had feelings for him and why he wasn't a stalker to be avoided. So I love that. I like that Axel fulfilled his promise to Michelle and had her brought back to life once he actually got his Odin back to wherever they were going, got his powers back. I was a little sad, though, because I really liked Michelle and Mike together, and I don't know, the Frigg character sort of came up at the end, and his connection with the Frigg it seemed entirely based on her Frigg powers of love, so I was a little bit disappointed that Mike and Michelle didn't end up together. And I think she went off with the other brother, Loki, so I don't know about that. But
Yeah.
I like the resolution that, especially Ty and Dawn, big Ty and Dawn chipper, and also that everyone sort of had a normal life, because they'd been really setting up this whole idea that everyone's life was going to be horrible after this finally got resolved, but it didn't turn out that way. So I like that a lot, actually. It did have a very good series finale, in my view.
Yeah, Michelle definitely didn't go off with Loki, but went off with, or decided she was going to see what might happen between her and Anders. That was
that was, I'm sorry. I meant Anders. I forgot what his Bragi was his
Bragi.
god name. Thank you.
So she's gonna investigate that, but before that, she's gonna have to deal with the fact that she's now in debt beyond belief and is probably going to be arrested for Grand Theft Auto. But other than that, I think she's doing just fine because she's alive and didn't think she would be. And yeah, the belief is that Odin did it since Axel with Odin in him made the promise, but who knows? It could have been any of the gods. It could have even been Shofan or whatever, the one who was that left Michelle. Could have, since she's the goddess of healing or whatever, she could have obviously turned around and healed Michelle too. But there's no word about that. But I just love the Ty and Dawn ending. I love their plan, and when they're beginning to film the sex tape, you don't know what they're talking about. I can't do this, and a lot of couples do this. They have no problem. What are they doing? What are they trying to do? And then it pulls back, and you see the camera. And I love, it was so edited together quickly, but I love the scene, where she gets up from the desk and walks up to Ty and says, "I know you." And she says it in such a way that it's, she's saying, "I know you," like, I just saw that I know you, or I know you as in I've just realized that you're the one that I love and I know you, from the heart or something. But it was a really powerful scene. I just loved it. And the two of them back together. And of course, to end it with Axel and Zeb, and Axel bringing the beer and the pizza that Zeb loves, and saying, "Hey, you know what? I'll take up the room with this mystery guy you don't know who left, and I'll even take a little of stuff because surprisingly it all fits me and it's all mine." But it's gonna be very interesting for all of them getting back into life because nobody remembers any of them. So Mike said that his bar was heavily insured when Loki burned it down, but now that he goes back, is anybody going to know? Is he going to be able to collect on that insurance? I mean, is anybody going to know who he is? And the guy, Loki himself, he's a lawyer. All his clients won't know who he is. Nobody's going to know who he is. So it's very interesting. I mean, I guess the paperwork is still there. The photos and the names are still there. Just nobody remembers them. So I guess they can still do all their things. In fact, I guess that's going to help Michelle quite a bit, right? Because the car dealer who who agreed to sleep with her to let her take the car won't remember her. So that's pretty cool. The car, she can just leave it on the side of the road somewhere, I guess, and she'll be fine. So I thought it was a well done ending when they knew that they were going to wrap this series up. How else can you wrap it up? I think they did a pretty darn good job. And of course, Grandpa saying his big regret the morning that it's going to happen is, "I'm going to get old." I love that.
Yeah, as both of you point out, what it was is I felt it was very true to itself and the characters. It seemed like a very natural way to end the series. We had a discussion on some recent shows about, show endings you're disappointed in or things like that. This one certainly was the one that emotionally it hit the points, as you both brought out, with all the different combinations, too. It made it work very well, both leading up to the actual events, in terms of what they were concerned about and what was going to happen, and then actually after it did, buttoning up those different people and what it meant for each of them. And as you've been saying to us for years, the Ty and Dawn stuff was great to see. When it comes to rooting for some characters, that's exactly what you'd hoped you'd see, and it really makes you feel good to have it work out that way. So it was very nice. This was a very fun and enjoyable show that turned out to be more than you might have thought at first look, and had some characters and some actors who did great jobs in those roles, and they made it work all around. So certainly one that I'm very pleased to recommend other folks, if they haven't had a chance to see it, something that you'll be able to have some fun with and also appreciate a story that gets built and told in its completeness.
Yeah, it's definitely a show I recommend to other people. And it was a lot more than just a fun show. There was a lot of interesting character development that happened throughout it, and I agree it did come to a satisfying conclusion, which can be rare with shows sometimes.
Alrighty then, moving on. Our other show to talk about this week the current airing anyway, we do have a couple of other items we'll touch on, is Lost Girl on the Canadian Air schedule. This is episode number 10 of season 5, Like Father, Like Daughter. And naturally, you know why, if you've seen it, why I am very excited and happy. 4 minutes, 7 seconds in, my girl is back. And getting out of a limo, no less, and looking pretty damn good. Great to have Kenzie back. Cannot tell you. I mean, an episode like this, to me, is quintessential Lost Girl. It reminds me of how things have been a little subpar for a good part of season 5 because Kenzie is not here. The Bo Kenzie stuff is outstanding, and seeing it work. And a lot of other great stuff in here is why this probably made the highlight so far of season 5 for me, aside from the very first episode when they got her out of Valhalla. But having her back was great. They've got a storyline that works pretty well here with this idea of that there's this vanishing painting that supposedly they're able to use against the ancients, a way to control them, make them disappear. So that's pretty important. And they tie it into Kenzie's story in Spain because it had to do with Hale's family and all. I kind of like that. I really liked the Lauren storyline. We didn't know what happened with her at the end of the last episode. And we get it confirmed here that it wasn't Bo healing her, but it was Lauren is actually able to take other Fae powers by simply touching them. She sees that a little bit when she's with Vex and gets his powers. So that's going to make, I think, for some interesting story bits and what the impact's going to be on her and Bo's relationship. So that was really good. I'm really enjoying here the Alicia stuff, a secondary character just kind of hanging there, you know, the husband of Hera/Kevin. It was just kind of a side story with Dyson helping her a bit. She's really started to come more into the story, and I love that Dyson is very much protecting her right down to near the end when Trick basically tells him because, you know, Mark, when I say Kevin, Mark spills the beans to her about the Fae and everything that's going on because he's still broken up. So Trick's like, well, we got to do something. We can't have a human who knows much. And Dyson, very much like early on in the series, right there at the doll, is willing to claim her. And I think I really enjoyed that. I'm hoping she does stick around, her and Dyson. I think I really like going through the last few episodes of the season. That'll be pretty interesting if that's the case. I love the caper of the week, the case of the week. You know, to get that painting that I talked about, Bo's trying to find a way to go into the art gallery to get it. We have some fun where she's planning to use her succubus powers on the curator or the manager of the art museum, but that person's a germaphobe and won't let Bo touch her, so she can't do her succubus bit. So they come up with this idea of Kenzie and Bo pulling out a plan to do it, complete with Kenzie acting like a tour guide to figure out what the defenses are, and Bo has to go all Catherine Zeta-Jones a la Entrapment to work through the lasers. You know, it was fun. It was sexy. It was great to see her doing it. So it's why this episode had a lot of the stuff in Lost Girl that I love to see, you know, all around. And at the end, throw in the wrinkle where, you know, Daddy/Hades has been all helpful to Bo and great. And then we come to find out when Lauren used the power to kind of look like take Z away, she's not really. She's there with Hades, and he has some big plan and rips off the cover of that painting to reveal a different one that looks much more ominous, you know, complete almost with a dun-dun-dun at the end. So I'm excited. The only bummer was the fact that it looks like Bo asked Kenzie to leave again, so I have no idea if she'll be back the next ep. But for me, this was quintessential Lost Girl.
Yeah, I can just, as soon as you said that, Kevin, I can just imagine Kevin with the stopwatch. As soon as Kenzie appears, all right, stop, call it. All right. All right, how much quality time do we get with Kenzie this episode? Let me start recording. But yeah, I loved the fact that she's back. And I don't think anybody made a comment about her hair color, but she's right off the set of Orphan Black. So, you know, she's got her brighter, lighter hair color.
Her natural stuff, yes.
Yeah, which is kind of cool.
Less Kenzie looking.
Less Kenzie looking, correct. She looked more like a Paris Hilton than a Kenzie, but that's okay. Still Kenzie, still Ksenia Solo, still great. But she's back with Hale's daddy, which I thought was pretty cool. And I love, I don't know if you touched too much on it when you were talking there, but Lauren's treatment giving her the ability to absorb the powers of other Fae, and her kind of surprising everybody by touching Hale's daddy and being able to use the siren powers to, we thought, banish Zeus or Z. But as it turns out, not banishing her, him, it. Hard to describe. And instead, the woman who is Z appears outside the cell of Daddy, of Hades, as you said, and he uncovers the painting and shows the dragon fire and everything underneath. But she's not banished, apparently. She's still there, unless he's seeing across planes or something. I'm not quite sure. But I don't know what's going to happen. But she's still got Z in her because he does address her as she's walking away as brother to give a kind of a warning. And he does also indicate that I think he said something like, it's begun or something like that. So, what's going on there? It has begun. I don't know. But Lauren's development is pretty cool too. And yeah, I did like the wife of the one that was possessed by Hera and Dyson having to claim her. That was pretty interesting. Although it's kind of almost been there, done that. So we've kind of seen that. But it is interesting to have a new character in the mix, and we'll see where she goes. I don't think there's any romantic possibilities there anymore. There were in the beginning because she thought her husband was dead, but now that he's not, I don't know. But I'm still curious about what's going to happen with Lauren. I mean, she's so almost excited and scared at the same time. Excited that she might actually be able to live a long life with Bo, but of course scared because she doesn't know what this all means. And if anybody finds out this has happened to her, her life is in danger. I mean, come on. Her life's in danger all the time, so it's nothing new there, but it's still kind of a cool development.
Yeah, and we don't know the impacts on her. She's claiming that she's okay, but I'm wondering if that's going to have some physical detriments to be able to have the ability to keep swapping out Fey powers. Can't be something a human's designed to do. All righty, some good stuff there, and looking forward to finishing out there. Much like we talked with Continuum, we only have 6 episodes left for Lost Girl. Alrighty, well, with a pretty light week as far as shows airing and news, we've got a couple of items we normally would do on a last call, but since it's only a couple, we're going to fit them in here a little bit longer in the regular show and no last call this week, folks. We're going to let Brent talk about Heroes Reborn a bit.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to have NBC Universal contact me about the ability to see some screeners for Heroes Reborn. I have the ability to see the first 3 episodes. I've watched the first 2, and I'm not going to go into any spoiler detail here, guys. I'm going to give you kind of a general review. First of all, it starts out I went into this the same way all of you guys did. And I know you're all thinking the same way. It's like, Heroes Season 1 was awesome. Heroes as a whole disappointed. Oh no, what are they going to do? Is it going to be good or bad? You come in not sure. You've had good heroes, you've had bad heroes. That's the way I came into this too. And started watching the first episode and I thought, this is kind of draggy. I don't really like where this is going. But by the time the first episode got halfway done, I was really into it. I think they're doing a good job. This is exciting again, seeing some of the characters come back and some of the developments with some of the characters and hearing from some characters that we didn't think we would ever hear from. I think you know who I'm talking about. And seeing a brand new character that's really cool. No real details, but it's a character that can go into a video game and she's really kind of cool and kind of badass. And the first 2 episodes were enjoyable. I would kind of recommend folks who enjoyed the first season of Heroes check those out. I am going to be watching the 3rd episode after we're done recording here.
Well, that's very good to hear. I've been very positive, and much like you described, it's been fingers and toes crossed that we can somehow pull some of that magic from Heroes Season 1. I'm not expecting it to be at that level, but I'm hoping. So I'm glad to hear it sounds like it's got a shot at doing that. And yes, so some of the previews and other things I've seen, I'm like, yeah, this could actually work. So I'm glad to hear that. I'm looking forward to it now. It's just a matter of days before it actually premieres. So that's very cool.
Well, that is good to have some firsthand knowledge. I'm the least enthused about more heroes of the 3 of us, for sure. So I'm hoping that it'll win me over, too.
All right, and the last item we wanted to touch on was Person of Interest. Regular listeners know I've been trying to catch up and doing a watch. I think it was last week on the podcast I mentioned with a fairly light week that I was going to be watching Sense8. But I started to watch another episode of Person of Interest. I think it was maybe Saturday or something shortly after we recorded, thinking, it's kind of enjoyed those. And I was grabbing one just to kind of watch something, one of those things where I wasn't sure what to watch, so I watched Person of Interest. And I'm fairly early in season 3, for those of you who have seen the show. And I watched it, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. Ooh, that's interesting. What's next? What's next? And now, 7 days later, I've watched 10 episodes of Person of Interest. So I'm not sure I'm going to get to Sense8 quite yet, but boy, am I even further hooked into Person of Interest. Quite a bit happens in that mid part of season 3. Not all of it good, but all of it well done, and has me very interested as it's really starting to play out more towards the stuff I've been hearing you, Brent, and Scott on Cape Cod and some other folks saying. So, I remember looking at how many episodes I had to watch before it comes back. We don't have a date yet other than 2016 for the final season. I'm like, there's no way I'll be caught up. And now I'm starting to look and go, Well, if I did like 2 episodes a week, I might be caught up by the time it gets back. So I'm totally digging it.
That's awesome. I hear you on the planning to do one thing and ending up watching something else, because I was wanting to rewatch a couple episodes of The Last Ship, and I ended up buying season 1 and season 2 on Amazon Instant and rewatching the whole series just because I wanted to go back and see a couple of things.
Oh, that's great, Kevin. I'm really pleased to hear that it bit you, and that's really great. And I'm a little distressed that you said the final season. Did we actually hear it was the final? I thought we just heard it was renewed.
No, pardon me. I'm now starting to pay a lot more attention to all those articles and all. And while they haven't said it's the final, I'm certainly, even the showrunner and some of the folks are thinking very strongly that unless it's a gangbuster with the ratings, that it's likely going to be the final.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't know when it's due, so I'm kind of looking and estimating if it were to come back fairly quickly, meaning January, would I have enough time to finish the 20 or 30 some odd episodes I have left? But maybe it won't be back till March or something, and I'll have a little more time. Because I would love to be caught up by the time the next season airs, whether it's the last one or not.
That would be good.
And for those of you who might have missed it, I think it was last week, the week before, Person of Interest seasons 1 through 3, and there have been 4 seasons, is on Netflix streaming now. So if you have been waiting to jump in, it's very easily accessible now too. I had to do it via DVDs up till the last week or so when it finally hit Netflix streaming.
Yes, it's in my queue.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap us up for this slightly extended episode, maybe just a teeny bit. As we said, don't look for a last call show this week, but by next week, a lot of our shows are back, so I'm sure we'll be jam-packed in both of them. But always a blast talking to Wendy and Brent. Appreciate them sitting down and talking, and for all of you for listening in, and look forward to getting feedback from you folks. Hope you all have a great week.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Catch you next time.
We love to get your feedback. Call us at 206-202-4182 or leave us a Skype voicemail to our Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV name. We have many ways to keep the discussion going on our blog. Drop by tuningintoscifitv.com and leave a comment. On the blog, you'll also find links to the forum discussions and other links to follow our Twitter and RSS feeds and find our Facebook account.
Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV was hosted by Kevin Batchelder, Wendy Hembrock, and Brent Barrett. The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle. Used with permission. Listen to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV on Stitcher Radio On Demand. Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 352, recorded September 19th, 2015. It was from Lost Girl, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.